Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I wanted to make a quick video talking about the JingPad. So I was watching Learn Linux TV, which has some good educational um, videos about Linux and just generally pretty good reviews. So I was watching the review, and I think it's kind of fluffy. Obviously, it's not super harsh on what he's saying, and he's probably letting people make up their own minds and just giving them the facts and information. But that's not really what I aim to do most of the time. I try to, give my actual opinion when I'm reviewing things and, my past experience, which is wisdom that I can possibly share with you guys. So, for any kind of Indiegogo or Kickstarter or any of these types of things, you're never guaranteed to get the product. That's number one. Number two, you don't really know how good the product is going to be. So when somebody reviews it, they have one tightly controlled example piece of hardware. And the internals of those devices, if I bring up the JingPad or say for instance the GPD Win 3, both I mean the Win 3 is not a Linux device, but it's a good example of a Kickstarter Indiegogo project. Now GPD is been around for a while and they have a lot of different products, but still their decisions for a lot of those products kind of show. So they chose a very cheap SSD, NVMe SSD, and because of that, there's a lot of returns, and they require you to send that SSD back to them, and you have to pay for shipping. They don't pay for shipping. So I mean, already it's going to increase your costs. Not too bad, like 13, $30. Depends where you live and if you have import export tariffs or any of that kind of things. So when you're looking at this JingPad, it could have hardware problems. It could have, you know, situations where you're going to have to send the whole entire device back. Now, I mean, that could happen for even big companies. Razer's had a bunch of batteries being bloated on their very expensive premium laptops. So that's not something that's new in the tech industry. It's just something that you should be aware of. So for my use case, I've already got the GPD Win 3. I installed Linux on it. It's been working really good, except randomly the dock broke. So I contacted them. My SSD broke and the dock broke. I've already sent the SSD back. They're going to send me a new dock. So that's cool, right? They have a good warranty. They do honor it. They do send the stuff back. But I'm without my dock for a little. So those are kind of inconveniences. If it's like a daily drive or something you're planning on using for every single day usage, that might be something you want to consider for long turnaround times on that hardware. Maybe you want to have a backup device. Um, but I mean, with that said, this isn't something you can just go and take to Best Buy and go get a new one. You have to deal with this long turnaround time. So yeah, with all that out of the way, let's talk about the actual device. So the device is basically a Linux laptop without the keyboard. It's enabled in a touch-like fashion, so it does have a touch interface, which is pretty cool. And I would imagine this is going to enable the development of a whole bunch of new kind of apps. I've seen some stuff from Gnome Shell talking about their gesture improvements and things like that. So any new interface is going to be good. I mean, this isn't the only new interface we need. We need a new interface for televisions. I know Ubuntu Unity was supposed to be on a television eventually, but that never came to fruition. But that doesn't mean we still don't need it. And I mean, there's things like Kodi that you can make work, but it's still not like a Linux desktop, right? It's not like a GNOME shell revamped and made for TV or something like that. So this actually is. So after I was watching his preview review or whatever you wanted to call it, it looks like a really great interface that they've built. So that's awesome. It's going to be a great interface. It does have a very high resolution, which personally I don't think is really required on this form factor. It's pretty small, but 2K is not so bad. I just worry about battery life. But they do claim to have 9 hours of usage time. So I highly doubt that's going to be like watching a video or anything like that. But you could probably browse the web and do Word document stuff for school or things like that if you're planning on making this a daily driver for those purposes, those use cases. So we just go along with the hardware. I believe it's going to be ARM. It's going to be an ARM device. So that means obviously whatever packages that are in the repositories for Ubuntu, they have to have an ARM built package for it to work. Now a lot of the apps do work, but not all of them. So that's something to keep in mind. Make sure that your particular apps that you're looking to buy, you're looking to use, are going to have that, pre-compiled for you. So here's a little bit more about the chip. ARM architecture, 2 gigahertz, 4-core Cortex A75, and a Cortex A55. Or 8 cores and 2 different variants. Going to have RAM up to 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty good for a tablet. And it's going to be, I don't know how fast that's going to be. It's going to, benchmarks are going to have to come out. I don't know why other people haven't done benchmarks on the memory, stuff like that. But if I had a device in my hands, I would definitely be benchmarking memory. It has an expandable storage slot, so you can include a micro SD card. That's really awesome. Keyboard looks nice. Looks like, plenty large enough. Doesn't have a 10 key, obviously, but, it's going to be able to do everything you'd want to do on a laptop, very small laptop. Yeah, so, going to come with a pencil. That's going to be awesome for writing. I assume for animators and drawers, people using Krita, I imagine this will be, really, hopefully premium experience for those use cases. The stand, the case looks really well thought out. A little prop on the back. It doesn't look cheap. As like a counterpoint, the Pine Tab, it has like a little case that it has the tablet mounted into a little case instead of this magnetic thing, which is a little bit less convenient, but then you don't have to have that little back prop thing, I think. I haven't actually tested the Pine Tab because they're not really available. And the only reason I would want to buy the Pine Tab for my use case is I need a fingerprint reader. But for the price, if they had a fingerprint sensor on that tab, that would be an awesome device to be able to use for so many things. So I'm looking for, the reason why I'm always hot on the trail of all these Linux tablets is because I really want one with a fingerprint sensor for a very specific use case. And yeah, so far, I don't believe any of these ones have it. I can do a quick search for fingerprint. So I don't think there's any fingerprint sensor technology. Not going to be able to, unless there's some kind of Linux app that can unlock with your face, you're not going to be able to do that. Those kind of more advanced things that a lot of other devices have, like Microsoft Windows and Apple's iOS and Google's Android. You're not going to be able to do any of those things. But, I assume that those things are eventually. Oh, it does say it has a fingerprint sensor. That's actually something I couldn't find. I guess it's in the image. Okay, so it does have a fingerprint sensor. Okay. Might be something I want to get. I do think that the price the tablet's coming in at, which is about $550 right now in the Indiegogo, is not terrible, but it's kind of high. If you're looking at the cost of the components to put this together, that's not that expensive. The screen, the case material, the circuit board, the ARM chips. I doubt all that stuff even costs, more than $200 at the most. Um, so they're going to make a lot of money. Some of that cost probably is going to development of the actual interface and making some software work. So I imagine that is part of why you're paying a little bit of a higher premium compared to something like the Pine Tab, which has not exactly the same specs. Obviously, it's a much less premium device. This one looks like it has much better build quality, but it's not a terrible price. But I would like to see that price come down a little bit. I think it'd be a lot better at the $399 price point, and then have increased storage capacity for a higher price or something like that to kind of make back the money. Sell a very cheap one at cost, and then have those higher price ones for the. But this is just the first generation. Maybe when we get around to the second, third generation, if they're still around, we might see the price come down on that. But that's one thing I definitely would like to see, is the price come down on this device. It's a little too high for what you get with just a tablet and a pencil. Um, they should sell it without the pencil. Not everybody needs a stylus or a pen or whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of people just want to have a tablet, and they don't actually even need a camera. They don't need a lot of these things. So, it would be cool to have more options for just driving the price down for a bare bones Linux tablet that has some of the basic sensors that you might need, and then you could use this for a lot of different purposes. Business applications, I could imagine you'd want to use this for. So yeah, overall, I think if you're okay with putting up $550 for something that potentially, hopefully they have a great warranty, hopefully they're going to be around for a while, all those kind of things. If you're okay with those concerns, I would say get this tablet. If you're a little bit leery about that, I would say wait till it comes out. You're probably going to be able to buy it later, maybe for a little bit more money. Then wait for reviews to come out, wait for people to work out any kind of weird bugs and things like that, and then go ahead and buy it. But that's a decision you're going to have to make. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the JingPad A1 Linux tablet. I think it's really awesome to see more Linux tablets coming about, and I hope we have a whole lot more to come. So you guys take it easy, all right?